Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be making a Mongol guide, and as a quick disclaimer, this guide is mainly intended for people that are below Conqueror 2 or Conqueror 1. This guide mainly focuses on the 1v1 aspects of Mongol. That being said, I'm going to get into it. Timestamps are in the description in case you want to skip to a specific part. And yep, if you find yourself enjoying this video at any moment, feel free to give me a subscribe or a like on the video, and yeah, hope you enjoy. Now, to begin with this guide, I'm going to start with the thing that I consider to be the most important with Mongols, and that is like where to place your town center. So, when you spawn in with Mongols, and you always need to place down your town center, right? Because it's unpacked. Now, there are three things you always look for when you're trying to analyze your start location, and there's two of them you look for in specific. These three things are your wood line, your gold, and your stone. You kind of ignore your berries because it's not really something you are interested in. So in this scenario, we have a pretty good spawn because I could stick my TC right here, and I'd have instant gold access, instant wood access, and not have to put like a gur in between, so that would save me some wood. The only downside is that the stone is really far, so whenever I want to place buildings around it, it's going to take a long time for my villagers to travel. But yeah, so like I said, the things you want to look for is wood, gold, and stone. You want to prioritize putting your town center near your gold and your wood. First of all, because it allows you to age up quicker if you have your villagers instantly that spawn out of your town center and go to gold. It makes them a lot more efficient since they'll just instantly start mining and they don't have to build a mining camp like other civs would in instant mining after doing a trip. And then the wood line is also very important because, like, say you're playing against the feudal civs, such as like the English, the French, Jeanne d'Arc, having a safe wood line like this makes it like unraidable. Like longbows can't just sit here and hit it or there. Your wood line is safe, which is very important when you're playing feudal. So now I'm going to look at another example to show you guys how a different spawn would look. Okay, so here we have a different spawn in which my gold and my stone are right next to each other, but my wood line is far. In this scenario, I would personally prioritize putting my town center on gold. I think that the priority, as I previously mentioned, goes gold first, then wood. You always want your town center to be on one of the two, but in this case, I think I'd choose gold first, and I would put my town center right here. Reason is, I have a wood line right here, and although the town center doesn't really cover it, it's just a bit, the range of my town center is almost like how a regular TC would cover the wood line. So it's like, it's almost just like having a wood line as any other civ. It is a bit dangerous, but still, it's the best we can do. Whereas, let's say I placed my town center over here, I would have, my gold would be like super far off and be unsafe, and you always need gold. Gold is the most important thing. I mean, so is wood, but if you don't have gold, you can't age up, you can't make cachings, you can't make units, it's the worst thing. Another spawn I could have done is right here next to the stone, but that puts me all the way in the back, so I lose a lot of ground. That's a lot of space I'm giving my opponent, and I would be once again really far from my gold, and it'd be really easy to raid. So yeah, in this scenario, you just want to put your town center here, because then if your opponent sees you put it here, here, or here, they could just react and feudal push you. Getting into the actual build order section, I'm going to demonstrate two build orders. One of them is like a very classic opening, where you can afterwards kind of do whatever you want. I'll explain as I go. The second build order I'll show after this is a tower rush build order, which is very important as Mongols needs to tower rush in many matchups. And yeah, I'll show a game I played against one of my buddies in a custom to show how it works against actual players. So here, to begin with a normal build order where you don't want to tower rush, first thing you're going to do is send 5 villagers to wood and 1 villager to a stone. The 1 villager to the stone is going to make an ovu, very important to Mongols, obviously. The other 5 villagers, the reason you're going to chalk wood is because the time it takes for the town center to get set up takes about 20 seconds on average. It's very awkward if you start like gathering sheep, because you'll kill one here, and then you'll have to go over there, and it's like very awkward, and you're going to lose a lot of time. So you're better off just chopping wood. Now, when you have this wood chopped, the best thing to do, in my opinion, is just to make a pasture, and it just gives you sheep. Obviously, it slows down your age up, but having those extra sheep can make a big difference, especially if you're playing against a feudal civ, since you might not always have map control. So just to demonstrate this, as you can see, we have 5 right here, going to wood, 1 going to stone. Now you're going to move the gur onto the wood, unless the wood is right next to your town center. Just that way your villagers can drop off, and you make sure the sheep follow your town center. If you place your town center really close to where you spawn, be careful about having your sheep follow it, because if they follow it, they get right under, and it could block it from placing. It didn't happen to me in this case, but it could happen. So once the town center is placed, what's going to happen is we're going to rally our first villager to food, and we're going to go up to 7 on food. But the reason we do this is obviously to maintain villager production, but also because these 5 villagers here on wood and this villager on stone, after they're done doing their thing, they're going to go back to food. So we only rally 1 villager to food. Also remember to use your can arrow with the con as soon as you spawn in. Okay, so right now we're at 2 on food. We're going to rally the next 2 to gold. So right here, as you see, I'm done chopping the wood. Now we have 6 on food, 1 building, the pasture, and 1 on gold. This villager here that's building the pasture, as you can see, is going to go back to food after it's done. And here we're only going to rally 2 villagers to gold. The only reason why we do 2 is because if your town center is on gold, like placed right next to the gold, you only need 2 villagers to age up if you do it the same way I do, since you don't have to build a you don't have to build a mining camp, you don't have to do any big trips or anything like that. Since it's just right on your town center, you only need 2. So like, just to speed up, as you can see, now we're at 2. So now we're going to be at 7. So since we've been delayed by the pasture, we're going to rally to food until we're at 12. Also, notice the difference the pasture makes. It spawns a sheep about every minute. So I'm just going to speed it up a bit. Another thing worth mentioning, with your gur, once you're done using it, to chop the initial 150 wood, always look around to see if there's sheep around your base. Like, let's say my con was over here, and there was a sheep right here. You could move your gur right next to the sheep, and the sheep will, like, get attracted to the gur, so then you can send it back to your base. And if there's no sheep around, then just put your gur next to your closest wood line, like I did here. Because we're going to need wood and feudal. Okay, so once we reached 12 villagers on food, we want to put about 5 on the age up to make up for the fact that we're delayed. And you want to keep only 4 on food, and send the other 2 to wood, and rally to wood up until you have 5 villagers on wood. As you can see right now, we have 4 on wood. So just to recap, we have 4 on wood, 4 on food, 2 on gold, 5 on the age up. The 2 on gold are just going to keep us constant gold until we can make keshiks. Okay, so now that we're 5 on wood, we don't need to put any more on wood, because we'll be able to make our first production building right as we age up. So now we just rally to food, that we have enough food to make our keshik. You usually want to open up with keshiks because you want, like in most cases, you want to start harassing your opponent. So yeah, keshik is always the best to open up, and you can make a stable in Dark Age, so it saves you time. It's going to speed it up. We're still rallying to food. Okay, just a mistake by me was I accidentally sent all my villagers from the age up to make the stable, and I didn't realize. But typically right now you'd be 7 on food, plus these 5, so you'd be 12 on food, and you'd only have 1 villager making the stable. Yeah, this was just an error by me, so just ignore this. So anyways, so now we're at 12 on food, 5 on wood, 2 on gold. I rally 1 more to food, and I'm gonna rally 1 more to gold. In a second. While double producing cash eggs. With your first batch of cash eggs, I always recommend double producing them. Since 2 cash eggs, when they charge and then hit a villager, it'll 2-shot a villager. So yeah, you always want to do that, whereas 1 cash egg takes, I think, 3 hits to kill a villager, which is very slow, and it gives your opponent too much time to garrison it. So right now, I'm at 13 on food, 5 on wood, 3 on gold. Now, at this point in the build order, I think is when you can really divert your playstyle. Now, in this general build where you don't tower rush, Mongols has about 2 to 3 playstyles. So typically there's the feudal all-in, which is probably the most common. And this is the one I'm going to demonstrate, where it's just like you're going to rally a few more to wood, a few more to gold. Then there's some variants of trade, whereas right now, for example, you would take some villagers, put down a market, and you'd start to... Oh, sorry, we already do have a market. Sorry. You just rally more to wood and gold, and make traders, and react to whatever your opponent is doing. And then the third build is just going castle. So now that you have your first batch of Keshigs, as they're about to come out, you wouldn't make any more troops, and you would just rally to food and gold and go castle with the steppy redoubt, which gives you gold. So yeah, there's a few builds, but the most common ones you're gonna find yourself doing is the trade in the feudal all-in one, especially the feudal all-in one. So to show you this, obviously as we have Keshigs, we need archers to complement that. So with the 150 wood we're about to have, we're going to make an archery range inside Avu influence. Now, like I said, the reason why we only double produce Keshigs once is because we're gonna need that stone to double produce archers. So yeah, one of the advantages of that Mongols has is that they can get an archer mass really going up really early, since they can double produce a couple archers while still constantly producing Keshigs, as you can see. So right now I'm rallying to wood for more archers. Yeah, and then yeah, so the game's about to end because I'm about to surrender here, but you just want to harass and make archers, as you'll see me do here in a second. Yeah, you always make your first 2 archers from the double produce mechanic, even your first 3. And yeah, you just do archer, cache, and then if your opponent has knights, you can make spearmen. It's really up to you. You could even start trading right now if you put a few more villages on golden wood. It's really up to you. So yeah, that's the generic build order for Mongols. So real quick before I get started on the build itself, one thing that's very important when you're going to do a tower rush is to adjust your scouting pattern. So typically what you want to do is you want to be at your opponent's base at about 1 minute and drop a falcon with your con, as you can see, and get an idea of where his base is, because you need to know where his gold is before you tower rush. So real quick, in this matchup, I'm playing versus Japan, which is as if you want to tower rush, because if they get to castle, you can be in big trouble. And we're playing on Caramel, which is a very good map for tower rushing. I'm just going to demonstrate that. This build, it's about, the very beginning is the same as the other build I showed, the generic build. So first thing we do is build an Avu, 5 on wood, TC between the wood and the gold. Difference is we're not going to mine gold in the beginning. So now with these 5 villagers chopping wood, when they're finished chopping down this tree, one of them is going to go to the Avu and build the barracks. 3 of them are going to go on wood, and one of them is going to go back to food. We need a decent bit of food on early on to sustain spearman production as well as making villagers. So just to show you my scouting pattern with my con, let me see, Fog of War. I've gone here, now I'm going around here, and I'll be going through here and here over to his base. So I'm not exactly beelining it to his base just yet, but I'm going there pretty early on. So yeah, like so just to show you the macro right now, about 1 minute and 10 seconds. 4 on food, 3 on wood, and 1 building the barracks. Now typically the villager that's building the barracks, you'll typically want to send him directly to your opponent's base right after you're done building the barracks. But in this scenario, I had seen that he had already made spearmen, and because of this, I'm not going to send my villager in the event where he outmasses me and I could potentially lose the villager. So I'm just going to start out by making spearmen. So just to recap real quick on the build, like I said, 3 on wood, still chopping, and we've just been rallying to food. The 3 on wood, so food chopping, and it's giving us enough to get wood for spearmen and to eventually make the tower, as you can see. And we just keep rallying to food because we need food to sustain villagers, obviously, to sustain spearmen, and yeah, and because we're going to need food to age up. So now I start sending over my first spearman. Obviously, it's important to remember to drop off of your con. I would have already scouted him. One thing that I often see like newer players or beginners make, or less experienced players, is that they will tend to keep their con around their base and leave a lot of the map unscouted, which lets their opponent take the sheep. And they also don't uncover resources that way. They can put them in a bit of trouble if the tower rush doesn't work. So now, around this point, I catch off one of his spearmen. Not able to do anything because he just runs it away, and I send over my villager because I've decided, okay, I have enough mass. He doesn't have enough spearmen, especially when I see him on gold here. It's a clear indicator that he's trying to age up. Still rallying to food, by the way. Build order. So I can't really do anything in this case, as in like with my spearmen, I can't burn anything. But what they're going to do is they're going to defend the villager that's going to build the tower. So now, back at base, I've started rallying my first villagers to gold because we're going to look for our own age up soon. Because we've made 7 spearmen, we don't need to make any more. Now my con is chilling here. I should probably have sent him to go scout, but I try to get another eagle up, and now I leave my con. Yeah, I just stupidly lose a spearman. So yeah, back at base I've sent a few villagers onto gold now. I've taken off the villagers off wood, put them on gold because now we want to get our age up in. Seeing that he's not invested into Dark Age, we have enough spearmen to guarantee the fact that the tower will go up. We just want to get that age up in. By the way, for Dark Age build orders, there's no like I'd say past the first 3 minutes, like how I showed with the wood and then the food. There's no specific like way to go about it because there are matchups in which, let's say against Mali, they'll try to make Dark Age Spearmen against you, and you might have to stay in Dark Age for a long time. And hence the macro is, there's no specific way to go for the macro, but I'd say once you have superiority and your opponent's not making spearmen or trying to counter you, get off wood and go on gold, get the age up, fill in whatever you need, and then start trying to adjust back to a normal build. As you can see here, I'm gonna pull off a few off gold soon. And then one quick tip with the tower placement. Usually you want to place the tower in a way that it blocks not only the gold, or the primary resource, doesn't always have to be gold, but one other. In this case, I chose the berries because if I try to block the wood line by placing the tower here, he has this wood line, so it's kind of useless. So I thought the better option would be to do berries because he only has 1 berries. So as you can see here, I'm going for the age up. I've grabbed a lot of food vills. Now I'm taking my villagers off of gold. Okay, so before I talk about this, just real quick, it's very similar to before. Now I have 4 on food, 4 on wood. These guys are aging up, and then they're going to go back to food. Now here, he's trying to counter by putting down his own tower. We have 6 spearmen. We're able to just dive this and hit him. As you can see, I'm a bit scared of the TC, but I realized that this time I can't really burn anything. So I get on top of him, I hit him. Now I should have realized that the tower is going to go up first and pull back my villager and cancel it, but I stupidly didn't, so I'll lose my villager. But anyways, the 5 vill kills are really worth it. And even though like my tower rush is going to technically fail, I'm put in a very advantageous position right now. 6 vills dead for 1 vill dead. Very big spot. You know, I have 25% more economy than him. So now, first thing I want to do when I age up is just make a blacksmith and make a stable. Now, there's no specific way of doing this. Like I said, it really depends. Like, had I played along Dark Age against a Malian, I would probably go for an archer range first, because you'll have spearmen. It really depends. But just to give some thought, right now I'm making spearmen, Keshigs, because he could make archers, and I'm making a blacksmith because I want to instantly ram him. And yeah. So this is just a way of showing how you could do Dark Age rushes. There's many variants, but this is kind of the main one. It's not always about getting the tower up, it's also about forcing your opponent to overreact, like in this scenario. But yeah. So in this last section, I'm just going to talk about the matchups from a general perspective. I'm just going to give you some quick an overview on how to play against them. Not everything in specific, but like the main ideas. And I'm just going to go in order. So feel free to take notes, because I might go somewhat fast. So first matchup, Byzantine. Probably one of the best for Mongols, generally speaking. You just want to go in Dark Age and tower rush his berries, and if possible, his gold along with it, but usually his berries first. If he can't make mercenaries, he's dead. As in, like, you should be able to just win against him in feudal. Once the Dark Rush is successful, the Dark Age Rush, sorry, you just want to make Keshig Archer and then ram him down. Don't be afraid to heavily invest into the Dark Age, because if the tower's up on his berries, you kind of automatically win the game. Japanese is a bit of a harder one now, since they can play Dark Age and make Samurai. You really wanted to invest into the Tower Rush too, and you really want to invest into a Tower Rush. And if it doesn't go, best advice is to trade and react. So if you see him go castle, make mounted samurai, make like a bunch of spearmen and trade, and just kind of play the long game against them. Abbasid is actually one I would not really recommend to Tower Rush, because they can just military wing and break your tower, and it's very cost effective for them, since they only spend 200 wood, whereas you're spending 100 wood idle time, and you're making 5 spearmen and barracks. You're spending a lot more than they are. What I'd recommend is trying to, because most of the time they'll play like 2 TC against you. If the second town center is in a very vulnerable spot, like up in the front or on his gold, I'd say ram push it with Keshig Archer. If it's not, if it's like in the back, very safe, just play trade against them and play the long game. And don't be afraid to add in like a market or two, because his town center is worth a lot compared to just 1 market for you. Ayubit is someone you should always tower rush, because if you let them get castle, you're dead because of camel lancers. So yeah, always tower rush Ayubit. Don't be afraid to invest into it a lot. You want to block his gold. And afterwards, you want to play feudal, Keshig Archer. He doesn't really have a strong feudal. And yeah, you really just want to force him into feudal. Chinese is probably one of the harder matchups. I do not recommend tower rushing Chinese in Dark Age, as they don't really need gold, and they can either put a barbican on it, like rush it up, or make their own barracks and supervise it and vomit spearmen. Instead, against Chinese, you really just need to react to what they do. So if you see him go 2 TC, you should definitely push it, because it's very expensive for him to maintain it because of Song Dynasty. If you see him go fast castle, match the fast castle while you trade behind it. If he plays feudal, trade if you have a good market, and just kind of play defensive and use mobility to your advantage. Pretty hard matchup. Zushi is also a hard matchup, probably even harder than China in my opinion. You can't really Dark Age rush them. I mean, you can try, but it's very dangerous. Like I said, they can just put up barracks and supervise it. What I'd advise is if he's playing feudal, I wouldn't even probably trade against him. I'd just play very defensive and use mobility to your advantage. Only trade if you have a safe market, and if you see him go castle, react to whatever he's doing. So if you see him go like knights, you want to make spearmen. If you see him go like palace guards, you want to make keshiks. French is probably one of the best matchups. All you have to do is town rush him in Dark Age and make definitely a couple spearmen. Because once you get rid of French's gold, it's almost game over. Once you've gotten rid of his gold, just play feudal against him and he should die. And just make sure you deny his gold because his royal knights are much better than your keshiks. So, and you just want to force him into spearman archer. Jeanne d'Arc is similar to French, however, Jeanne d'Arc's a bit harder because when she levels up to level 2, she has like a temporary power spike in which she can kind of hurt you. But essentially, you want to tower rush Jeanne d'Arc's gold. You want to invest into it like somewhat heavily, and yeah, you just want to tower rush her gold, force her to play. Well, she's going to play feudal no matter what, but you want to really force her into like spearman archer, and focus down Jeanne d'Arc because you're likely to play a long feudal game against her, so you do not want her to get XP, whatever you can do. And if you're playing a long feudal game against Jeanne d'Arc, and it's starting to get to a point where you think she's going to reach level 3 soon, I suggest trying to age up. Because once she hits level 3, you could be in a big trouble. Knights Templar, I really recommend either tower rushing them or playing feudal. No matter what you want to play aggressive, because if you can deny pilgrims and keep map control, they're in a really bad spot since they're 3 villagers down. Yeah, it's really just about pressure. You don't have to tower rush them, because they don't necessarily need gold like that, but I definitely advise always playing feudal. I think feudal is just better because you can cut off their pilgrims and then play around their gold. Hatred is probably one of the harder matchups. You typically, I'd say, is what you want to do. What you want to do is really heavily invest into Dark Age and force him to make a lot of spearmen. In those cases, it's really trivial. Like I'd say, just try to keep your spearmen alive because he can make a lot of spearmen because of his resource gathering bonus, and you just want to take advantage of your double production bonus in Dark Age and try to outmass him and just deny his gold eventually. Order of the Dragon is one that I'd just go feudal into, and I'd say play feudal against him and just react to whatever he's making. So if he's making men at arms, you make keshiks. If he's making like horseman spearman, you want to make like spearman archer. You always want to react to what he's doing, and it's pretty good to trade against him, but this is probably the hardest matchups for Mongol because their spearmen almost two-shot your keshiks. Delhi's a pretty decent matchup. The main idea behind playing versus Delhi is you just want to play feudal, and you have a better army comp than them because Ghazis aren't really good against keshiks. So typically, if you just play archer and keshig and you focus down his spearmen, you should be able to win against Delhi, but make sure you deny sacreds whenever you're trying to get them, because otherwise he could go castle and demolish you if he gets even one elephant out. English is a very good matchup for you. You can play feudal against English, and if they play 1TC, you play 1TC, you'll win because you have a better army comp, Keshig Archer. What I'd recommend against English is always, unless your market is terrible, you want to trade and force him to come to your side of the map since he has very bad mobility, and take good fights. Just take fights where he's out of position and stuff, and you can absolutely demolish an English. If an English is playing 2TC, don't panic. If the TC is in a vulnerable spot, you can ram it down. I'd definitely suggest to do so. If the TC is in a very safe spot, just go like 2 markets and trade. English to TC takes a long time to pay off. Lancaster is probably a harder matchup, in my opinion. If he goes 3 manners, you can't really do much. So what I'd recommend is just trading and trying to kind of play feudal against him, but don't play too aggressive. If he goes 6 or more manners, I'd recommend definitely just to go and push him. And yeah, definitely that's what I would do against the Lancaster. The greedier he gets, the more aggressive you want to play. Malians is a pretty good matchup for you. It's weird, but it's a good matchup. So what you want to do against the Malians is you want to play Dark Age, like make Spearmen. Don't bring a villager to Tower Rush. I'd say make 5 Spearmen, and if the Malian hasn't made Donzo himself, which typically they do, then bring a villager and put a tower on his gold. Feudal, you really want to play Feudal against Mali, and you want to ram rush him and get rid of his cow boom. You want to play Arch Keshig, but beware because once the Malian gets about 5 to 10 javelins, they become really efficient and they can one-shot your archers, so you want to get a big archer mass against Mali. But it's a pretty good matchup for you. And don't be afraid to trade in Feudal a bit to get an advantage. Mongols is all about aggression. You want to make Spearman against him and burn his Avu, and if possible, tower rush him. Typically against Mongols, it's like a Spearman versus Spearman fight in Dark Age, but yeah, just play to your advantage. Try to burn down his Avu and try to kill him in Feudal, and yeah. Ottomans is probably one of our hard, like in my experience at least, I find playing against Ottomans to be pretty hard. I find the best way to play against them is to just instantly go at them in Feudal. Like, don't tower rush them. You can't really. There's not much you can do with a tower rush on them. Just to go at them in Feudal, Archer, Keshig, and you really want to try and kill their units. Their main buff comes from having military schools, which takes time to kick in. So if you can kill villagers and get ramps up, it's good. But you want to be careful because in Feudal, once he gets the Vizier points for the Janissaries to spawn in, yeah, and he has like 2 military schools. He gets about like 6 Janissaries, maybe 8 if he has the other bonus. And those Janissaries can basically just one-shot your Keshigs, and that's not fun to play against. Rus is probably this second hardest matchup in my experience. You can't really do much against the Rus. What I'd recommend is if you see him going pro scouts, as per usual, just play Keshigs. Make a few Keshigs in Feudal, try to deny the pro scouts, and then if you see him go castle right behind it, match his castle, and then just try to counter his units there. There's not much you can do against the Rus in general, but if he goes Kremlin, just play trade and go react to what he's doing. So if he goes 2TC, you go heavy on trade. If he goes castle, you go castle, etc. So yeah, I hope you guys found this little overview of the matchups useful. And yeah. So yeah, now I guess to conclude the video, hope you guys learned a lot from this. Yeah, this is my first attempt at doing a guide. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, please, don't be afraid to give me a like and subscribe. And yeah, if you guys have any suggestions for other guides and videos you'd like to see, drop them in the comments. And yeah, thank you, and thank you for watching. Have a good one.